Hi everyone. Today video is on .NET 6 Web API CRUD operation with NT Framework Core. Okay. So in this demo, we are going to do create, read, update, and delete operations in Web API .NET 6. Okay. So what is Web API? So Web API in general returns the common response that is JSON. So that response can be consumed by any kind of device like mobile applications or desktop applications. So Web API simply fetches the data from the database and return them as a JSON or XML format to the respective clients. Okay, so Web API is a framework for building HTTP service that can be accessed from any client like browser, mobile devices, and desktop apps. Okay, it is an HTTP service. Okay, in simple terminology, API means application programming interface. Okay, is an interface module that contains programming functions that can be requested via HTTP calls to save or fetch the data for the respective client. Okay, some of the key characteristics of API are support HTTP verbs like get, post, put, delete. Okay, supports default responses like XML and JSON. Also, we can define custom responses as well. Okay, supports self-hosting or individual hosting so that different kinds of apps can consume them. Okay, authentication and authorization are very easy to implement in it. Okay, the ideal platform to build RESTful services is Web API. Okay, so these are the key introduction on Web API. So this is my sample SQL query. So you can run it so that you can follow my demo step by step. Okay. Now let's jump into creating our .NET 6 Web API application. So here I am using .NET CLI command for creating my project. So command is like .NET space new and template type, that is Web API -o space your project. So let's create the project. Okay, project is successfully created. Let me open my project in Visual Studio Code Editor. So here is my Web API project and target framework is .NET 6.0. Okay, so in this project, first let's have a look at program.cs file. Okay, from .NET 6 there is no startup.cs file. So from .NET 6, all the service registrations and middleware setup, everything is added into program.cs file. Okay, let's go through the default services and middlewares that were added in program.cs file. So if you observe here, add controllers. So controllers registered for PA service, and here Swagger and Endpoint API Explorer. So these going to generates us Swagger, which is a UI tool where we can test our API endpoints. Okay, so those three are default services. And coming to the middlewares, here you can see Swagger is enabled for development only. Okay, and there is a HTTPS redirection. If the request comes as HTTP, it will redirect to HTTPS. Okay, and authorization middleware and map controller middleware. So this is a endpoint middleware, one of the kind of endpoint middleware. It is directly navigate to the controllers. Okay, so these are the default services and middlewares in the program.cs file. In this demo, for database communication, we are going to use NT Framework Core. So what is NT Framework Core? NT Framework Core is an object relational mapping ORM framework. So it is a framework. Okay. EF Core makes database communication more fluent and easy. Okay. So the database context class act as a database from our code point of view, and it will contain all registered tables as dbset entity. Okay, so if we use NT framework, database context in our code is equal to database in SQL, and normal POCO classes, okay, nothing but table classes will equal to tables in the SQL. Okay. So first, let's try to set up the NT Framework core into our sample project. So first, let's install a EF Core NuGet library like Microsoft.NT Framework Core. Okay. So Visual Studio users copy from the package manager. For .NET CLI, copy from here. Okay. And second library we have to install, that is Microsoft.NT Framework Core.SQL Server. So it is a child library of the NT framework. Okay. So this library helps for database setup and communication. Okay. Let's install this as well. Now let's create a database context. So database context is equivalent to our database. So create a folder like data. Okay. And here I'm going to create my database like my old DB context. So naming is, you can give any name, and it is recommended to give your database name as your database context name. So here is my DB context class. Currently it is a normal class only. To make it database context class, it should inherit DB context that loads from Microsoft.NT Framework Core. And now to the constructor, we have to pass DB context options, and type should be our, this type is nothing but this class name itself. Okay. And options, and those need to be passed to base class. Base class is nothing but our DB context. Okay. So this is my DB context. So we have DB context and we have to create the classes that represent the tables. Okay. So inside of the data, create a one more folder like entities, and inside of it create like take.cs. So this is my table class. Okay, after adding the properties, my class look like this. So to gain control over this class, we should register it in our my old database context. So to register table classes, we have to register like db set, and here we have to define our class type. Okay, so every table class will be registered as a property here. Okay, this technique is called code first with existing database. Means I have already have database. Here I am creating a classes for my table, right? So this technique is called code first with existing database. Okay, and now let's add connection string in our app setting.development.json. Connection. So here assign your database connection string. Okay, connection string successfully added. Now in program.cs, we have to register our my old DB context. Okay, so here pass our DB context class name. Need to configure options. Okay, with SQL Server session dot get connection string, and here I need to pass the connection string property value. So this property name copy and pass here. So it can read the connection string value. Okay. Okay. So these are all the configuration options gets injected into this DB context whenever we use our my old DB context. Okay. So we are done with database context configuration using Entity Framework Core. Okay. So now come back to Web API. In Web API, entry point for a request is called controller. So let's create a controller. So in the controllers, let's create like, so this is my new controller. So my controller look like this. Okay, controller inherits Microsoft dot ASP.NET Core MVC dot controller base. Okay, and here we configured a route attribute, and inside of it we have defined the expression like controller. That means we are specifying like this part cake as a route. And API controller means if you define API controller, it will add additional features to our controller, okay, that are related to API. So first, let's inject the DB context into the constructor of our controller, okay. Okay, we have injected our DB context into the constructor, okay. So controller is the entry point. Okay, controller contains action methods. Action methods are nothing but logical functions which executes or fetches the data from the database and returns the response to the users. So let's create a endpoint. Okay. So first let's create a read operation. Okay. So to implement read operation, we have to create a action method. Okay. So read means get. That means our action method gets invoked for HTTP GET request. Okay. So for that we have to write like public action result return type and get. Okay. So this is my action method. Okay, and it should be decorated with the uh, HTTP verb. So I have mentioned right, it returns all the data means read right. So decorate with HTTP get verb. Okay. So basically, it is always recommended to use the asynchronous calls. So for that, what you have to do means add async and ask. So our request is a asynchronous endpoint. Our endpoint is asynchronous endpoint. I want to read all the data from the database and return as a response. Okay. So for that, what I will do, where x equal to my whole DB context is used for communicating with the database, right? So here we have already added a property like cake, right? So it's going to communicate with the cake table in my database. Okay, to fetch all the records, we have to write to list is an extension method, means it will fetch all the records from the database. So how it will generate a query, I will show in upcoming step. So I want to use it asynchronous, right? So what I will do, I will use async. So that loads from Microsoft Entity Framework. So async call should be awaited. Okay. And as a convention, let's change our method name to get async. Okay. So on successfully returning data, there are few predefined methods. So in that, okay. Okay means 200 response 200 I am returning. And in that okay, I can pass the cakes. Okay. So this is my read operation. Okay. So let's run and test the endpoint. And one more thing, if you observe, there is no route here on the action method. If you want, you can add route like this. Okay. Get all. But there is a convention. Okay. What is that convention? A controller can, if a controller has only one HTTP verb type action method, means we will have HTTP verb like HTTP get, HTTP post, HTTP put, right? So each of the type is having only one method, then no need to specify explicitly. Okay. If you have HTTP get action methods, if I have two, okay, then I need to specify route explicitly at least for one action method. By convention, Mostly it is always recommended to have only one HTTP verb type action method in the controller. But there are cases when we have to write multiple action methods of same HTTP verb type. At that time, we have to define the route explicitly. For now, no need. So now let's test the endpoint. Okay. So here is the Swagger, and you can see my cake endpoint and get method. So where is this route coming from? This route coming from the route attribute that is defined on top of the controller. And here we have a given expression, right? So that expression will take cake as a route path. Okay, now let's test it. So click on it and click on try. And if I execute, I have some sample data. I am expecting that data to be returned. So if you observe, I got some data. And with response 200, status code 200 means success. Okay, so that's all about the read operation. Now let's do create operation. So for create operation, the HTTP verb we have to use is HTTP post. Okay, post represent create means saving data, saving some data to the database. Okay, so let's create an action method, public async task I action result post async. Okay, so post means data will be posted, right? So here we should have the payload. So payload type cake. This data will be posted from the client side. Okay, and the action method should be decorated with the HTTP post. Since I have only single post action method, right? So I won't define a route for this action method. Okay. Next thing is now using DB context and cake, we have extension method like add. To this add method, we have to pass our payload. So our payload is new cake. Okay. So so what will happen? A new record is attached to the context. So now context state will be changed to context change state will be changed to add state. Okay. So once the context state is changed, and if we call a method like save async changes, okay. Since it is async, right, we have to await it. Okay, await. So once the context state is changed, and if we call save changes means this line of code. See, this line of code just added our payload into the context only, means in our application memory. But when this line of code get executed, what it will do? The added record will be saved against the database. So that will be run on executing this line of code. So save changes async will pushes or saves the data into the database. Okay. So now data is uh, added, right? So if you want, you can return OK method only, means 200. But there is a recommended standard recommended way, that is return dot created. So if you hover here, created represents status code of 201. 201 status code means newly created record. Okay. So here it is expecting two parameters like URL and the newly saved object. So URL means, okay, URL, and I want to return the new cake. Okay. So what I have to prepare, I need to prepare a URL so that if the user uses that URL, he has to get the newly created record from the database. Means one more get endpoint I have to write. Okay, so let me write a get endpoint and get by ID. So here I will have a query parameter like ID, int ID, because this URL will give the newly saved record. For that one I am creating an endpoint. Okay, and I will get single item, right? So await. Okay, so it will get the matched ID first record. Since it is a HTTP get, right? I need to decorate this with HTTP get attribute. Okay, and OK response means success, and I will pass the cake. But I have mentioned right now we have two HTTP get action methods. So if we have more than one, then we need to specify route explicitly. So here I am specifying route like. So now I can give this route here. Okay. So let me copy so that the end user, once created, if they want to check the data, they can call this endpoint. Initially, there won't be any ID. Here, if we observe, initially new cake, it is a new record, right? ID will be 0. But once it is saved to the database, automatically ID value will be populated into this object. That confirms this object is successfully saved into our database. Okay. So this is my create operation. Now here you can see two more endpoints are added. So I have to check is cake, right? So I am checking cake. I need to add a new cake. Now click on execute. See, response we got newly created record. Okay, observe the response headers. You can see location and you can see our URL. Okay, so to test it, what I will do, copy this domain. Okay, and copy this location value and check that endpoint. Should have cake as well, right? Cake. See, I'm able to get the data. So small changes I have to pass cake also for more relevant path. Okay, so that is how post works. And the next operation is put. Put means update. So let's create an action method to update the record. Put async. And the action method should be decorated with HTTP put, and it should have a payload from the user. Okay. Next, my DB context cake dot update. Okay. To this update method, we need to pass our payload cake to update. Okay. Once that is done, similar to create, just we have to call the save async, save changes async method. And for the put, the recommended return type is return no content. Okay, that represents 204 status code. Okay, so here we have three different types of 200 status codes. Like 200 means okay, 201 means created, and 204 means no content. Okay, so that's it. Our logic is completed. Let's test it. So go to update. Okay, and try out. What I will do, I have just created a new record, right? I want to update that record only. For that, let me copy this object and paste it here. So what I will update my price to 90 bucks. Okay. Now click on execute. So 204 means successfully updated. Now let's test data is updated or not. So here it is 150, right? We updated to 90. 90. Successfully updation is completed. Okay, now last operation, that is delete operation. Okay, delete async. Okay, and it will accept ID value of the record that need to be deleted. Okay, and it should be decorated with the HTTP delete. Okay, now what I will do first, I want to fetch the record from the database. Okay, if the record is not available in the database, then we simply return status like not found. So if the data is exist, then using DB context, we can remove the object. So now call the save async changes. So object is removed, right? So delete gets executed in the database. Okay. And finally return no content means do not for status code. So not found means 404. So let's test the delete endpoint. So here is our delete endpoint, right? So it is expecting ID value, right? So let me add this one. I want to delete newly created record. Okay. On successful delete, I have to get 204 as a status code. I got 204 as a status code. Or suppose if I go here and execute, I won't see that record. See, there is no record with 1502. Here up to 1402 only. That means our record is successfully deleted. Okay. So that's all about the Web API CRUD operations in .NET 6. And one more thing I want to finally show you that how the DB contest get executed, right? Okay, so let's run this action method and check how the SQL query is generated from this line of code. Okay, so first what I will do, I will test again the get method. Okay, try and execute. And now I got the result. Now let's check the try SQL query, how it is generated from the Inti framework code. So in the console, you can see the command executed. See, select columns from cakes. So this is the query that is generated from this line of code. Okay. And next, how it will generated for the create operation. Let's see. Okay. So let me add again a new record into the database. So post request, right? So let's try out. Okay. Let's execute it. And it is 201 and successfully saved. Okay. And if I go here and if I check my console, here you can see insert query, right? Insert query. So this insert query is generated for these two lines of code. Okay. And similarly, let's check for put as well. So put what we will do, I will copy this code. Okay. Paste it over here and I will update price to 50. Okay. If I click on update and if I check in terminal, you can see update query, right? That is generated from these two lines of code. Okay. Now let's text delete as well. So for delete, Let's copy the ID value from here. Okay, and go to delete and try out and enter the value and execute it. 204 means successfully deleted. If you go here and check the console, you can see the delete command here. So all NT framework core extension methods finally generated as a SQL queries only. Like this, NT framework will help to communicate with the database. So that's all about .NET 6 Web API CRUD operation. I hope this video has delivered some useful information to you all. If you like my video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Soon we will meet with a new video. Until then, signing off.